but not you guys. Come on up. So this morning, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Normally, we would move to sermon time now. However, we feel that it is also very valuable in the church to have a time where we get to hear testimony of the work that God has done in our lives. And this is one of those mornings. So we're really excited to hear testimony that's going to point us to Jesus and encourage us in our faith. So let's give it up for them before they get started here.
Hello? There you go. You can go on the stairs if you prefer. Should we move down? Okay. Lead the way. Okay, they're asking, why aren't we on the stairs? Oh, you can go on the stairs if you want. My name's Christy, and I am the interim director of youth ministry here at Crossroads. And I had the privilege of taking this group, and I think all but 4 of them made it this morning. Is that right? 4 or 5, maybe, to share with you this morning about our experience. So we have a lot to pack into 30 minutes. Are the slideshows going? Okay, I was just going to give a real quick overview of this slideshow so that you have a little context for some of the pictures. So I'll buzz through this really fast. We took our team of 26 people, 6 leaders, and we had 6 work groups mixed with 2 other churches in Logan, West Virginia. This was June 17th through 25th that we went. And we started our trip off. You'll see some of these pictures with some team building time at Six Flags in Gurnee, Illinois. Just kind of time to get to know each other and get comfortable with each other before we started our service week. We had a lot of fun on the bus ride. You'll see a few goofy clips of them. They, on this trip, were dance partying with music all the way till we pulled back in the driveway. Like, they did not lose their energy. It was great. Along the way, we had a little detour we were able to take because we actually had more time in our schedule than we thought we would because we had no vehicle issues this year. Woo-hoo! So thank you for praying for us. That, we are confident, is the only reason why. What was that? Yeah. Oh, right. Well, that was a joke. So we were able to stop at Natural Bridge State Park in Kentucky. You'll see some pictures of that. You'll see pictures of how very beautiful and scenic that Logan is in the Appalachian Mountains. A few little clips of Sebastian the horse. When we came in late in the evening, this horse was at the top of the stairs, gave us all a little startle, and he became a joke that got moved around and dressed up all through the week. So there's a few pictures of that in there. Our work sites were a couple of teams on home projects, doing some different remodeling things as needed. One group was on a kids club, and the others were, I think they spent a little time in a nursing home, but some state park trails. They had had some bad storms recently, so they were able to spend some time cleaning up the paths and things like that to make it better for the community. Our evening activities, one evening they had a pool night that we got to go to, so after your service day. One night we did a hike in Chief Logan State Park. One evening we went and listened to a very southern preacher in a church and had a worship and prayer service that they will tell you a little bit about. And then the other evening, it happened to be their Freedom Festival, and so we got to go to a local celebration there, and that was really a fun way to spend. It was kind of like the county fair all set up downtown. So it was really kind of a cool thing to spend the evening there and have some fun time out. And then on the way back, we kind of had all our food stops were picnics. And at our very last one around Clearwater, we were able to meet TJ, who is our former youth director, and we connected with him there. We grilled out and had a little bit of time just for some frisbee and fun over a beautiful lake, and it was just nice to kind of wind down together before that last push to getting home. So that is kind of what you'll be seeing stream through here. So on these trips, every year, someone will say, how did you pick YouthWorks? And we, back in 2015, started working with YouthWorks. One, because we were a little familiar. The person that writes some of their devotionals used to be in our youth group, so Sam Townsend, sorry, there's a lot of them, was part of our church, and he has been, and now his wife is on staff there, and so kind of had a little connection there, but ultimately their statement really aligns with ours. So I'm going to read a condensed version of theirs, but a little about YouthWorks. They say, we believe that these kinds of mission trip experiences positively impact the communities we partner with, the teenagers who are stretched and challenged through a week of service, and the adult leaders who build mission trips into the ongoing discipleships of their teenagers. Our staff has been creating mission trip experiences for teenagers and adult leaders for more than 27 years, and in that time, the Holy Spirit has led us to be about these things. There's a large list of things. The most important one we felt that really drew us to YouthWorks was Jesus. Everything we do points to Jesus. In case you couldn't tell, we create mission trip experiences because we want to point all sorts of people to Jesus. We seek to restore relationships, love others, and serve communities because Jesus set that example for us. Everything we do comes out of our desire to follow the greatest commandment that Jesus gave us, to love God and love others. When we get this right, we help people experience unconditional love and care for one another through the lens of Jesus Christ. That really aligns with our church's purpose of loving God, growing spiritually, and serving others, and we have really felt that that has been a great fit. Every time we've gone, we've really seen them stick with that and have that play out. So we are big YouthWorks fans. I'm going to stick to my outline so I don't talk all day, because those of you that know me know I will. I get excited to talk about this stuff. A typical YouthWorks day, just as the overview part here before we get into the experiences. You get up early for breakfast, pack your own lunches. We have a set time every day, an intentional time of some devos. They give us these awesome devotional books that go along with their summer theme and do a great job of taking time to start your day connecting with Jesus. From 9 to 3, we go to our work sites. We come back and we shower, have a little bit of downtime in between the shower shifts, because there's, 5 showers, 6 showers? They're seeing Sebastian the horse. We come back, we have supper, that evening activity I mentioned, and then they have the gathering, which is kind of a, they'll give a testimony, one of their staff, and then they'll have, I get distracted by those pictures, they're fun. So the gathering is like testimony by staff, some worship time, and then they'll have like a little lesson, like a little mini sermon kind of a time. And then after the gathering, later at night, like 9:30, we get to have some church time where you can kind of debrief your day and share about your experiences, go over any questions, talk a little bit about the gathering, really reconnect with your people at the end of the day, and then have some prayer time and head off to bed. So that is kind of a typical day. So I'm going to talk to these guys about some highlights of the trip. I'm going to share my own first. And mine is based on that Devo book that we talked about. And if you saw the newsletter, this is in the newsletter this month, because I just loved their whole theme this year. These guys know I am all about being real or authentic, and maybe a little silly in that, but being real, right? Couple smirks. So their theme this year was for real, and on the front of your bulletin you'll see that. On don't just pretend to love others, really love them, Romans 12:9. So the devotional introduction starts out, let's be real. Sometimes it's simpler to share a version of yourself than to reveal the real you. Sometimes it's quicker to assume the worst in others than to look for the best. And sometimes it's easier to go through the motions than to truly love others. Going deep and being authentic in your relationships can be hard, but the good news is that we have an example of what it looks like to be real with others. Not only did Jesus show authentic love to all sorts of people, he empowers his followers to do the same. This week, as we enter different places, serve other people, and step out in new ways, let's pay attention to how Jesus is inviting us to open our eyes and our hearts wider. So when it comes to being known, when it comes to seeing others, when it comes to loving deeply, let's be real. So that set the stage for the beginning of our week, and everything through the week pointed to that. And these really are a really nice way to start your day every day, and then they have a little bit for as you go home too. So very, very cool part of the trip. The highlight for me, based on that, is seeing the connection that students and leaders make on these trips. A lot of people will ask, why go to Logan, West Virginia? Isn't that like 18 hours away? Yes, it is on a bus, maybe a little longer than that even. But the experience you have when you get out of your comfort zone, out of the routines, out of the schedules, you're all a little more vulnerable, a little more authentic in that space. It gives you opportunities that you wouldn't have on a typical scheduled Wednesday night or Sunday morning interaction, but time to really get to know each other, go a little deeper, get a little uncomfortable together. But you can serve locally, absolutely, and we try to do that as well. But when you are home and you get a group of kids together, they would tend to say, well, this Thursday I have this family thing, so I'm just going to leave for a little bit, or I can't make it because this, or my schedule doesn't allow this, so I'm just going to, in and out, and you're not really fully present. And so when we get out of the routine, we are fully present all the time for that whole 9 days. It really sets the stage for ministry for the coming year when you do life together for that big of a chunk of time, or even ride the bus for that big of a chunk of time. We had 2 vehicles, and on the last 6 hours of our trip, we were all just in the bus, and that was actually some of our favorite time, I think we would all say. So it's really a good thing. So that authentic connection is the highlight of these trips for me every time, and that was not any different this time. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone around and have our group introduce themselves here. If you would just say your name and the grade you'll be in this fall, so everybody kind of has an idea of who we are here. So,
I'm Layla, and I'm going into 9th grade.
I'm Ruby, and I'm going into 9th grade.
I'm Avery, and I'm going into 9th grade.
I'm Este, and I'm going into 9th grade.
I'm Riley, I'm going into 9th grade.
I'm Grace, I'm also going to 9th grade.
I'll break the pattern. I'm Aaliyah, I'm a junior.
And I'm Hannah, I'm going into 10th.
I'm Ellie, I'm gonna be a junior.
I'm Jack, I'll be a senior.
I'm Tyler, and I'm going to be a senior.
I'm Micah, I'm going to be a senior.
I'm Kate, I'm going to be a junior.
I'm Matt, and I don't count.
I'm Micaiah, and I'm going to be in 9th grade.
I'm Micah, I'm going to be in 9th grade.
I'm Lucinda, don't count either.
I'm Leah. What grade do you think I am?
I'm Lindsay, and I'm going to be in 9th grade.
And then I'm Jason. I don't know. Not 9th grade.
Our leaders fit right in. I love it. Okay, got to get myself back together. Okay, so we had a couple of students that couldn't be here this morning, but they still wanted to share a little bit about their experience. They are some of our upperclassmen, and so they took the time to send me a little blurb. One of them even sent me an extra thing this morning that was really awesome, and I just, in testimony for who these kids are, they are awesome kids, but Maggie this morning sent us a message that says, as you guys are going into this time of sharing your story, I just wanted to pray for you to be given, now I'm going to tear up, to be given the words to best share what God has put on your heart and what you have seen him do. May all you say and do glorify him. So this is one of our students, and she'll be a senior, and that is very representative of this group. This is an easy group to go deeper with because they are incredible, incredible students and very open to sharing their faith with each other and these experiences together. So Maggie wanted to share, her statement was her question, what did you learn about yourself this week? And we have Devos on the deck at my house on Tuesdays in the summer, and we got to talk a little bit about this then too, and she really went a little deeper there, but her statement here says, the main thing that was on my heart this week was how we view ourselves so differently from how God and our peers do. I had been frustrated with myself, and my friends lifted me up and supported me, and I just really felt blessed through my relationships over the course of the trip. They saw me in a light that I couldn't see because I was looking through a tinted lens, and I just think that's really good to remember. So thank you to Maggie for sharing that piece there. And Gavin Knutson, one of our seniors, he just graduated, and he's off with some family here this weekend, but in true Gavin style, he starts off with, and I wish I could say his voice, but the mission trips are interesting. You can hear him say this. They can be very impactful for people, as it will help expand your view of the world. It will put you in uncomfortable situations and force you to experience the lives of others. I would recommend you bring friends to help soften the hardships of travels and give you a chance to witness to others. So thank you to Gavin for sharing his little piece there. We had one more that just graduated. Nora Foreman wasn't able to be here today, but she sent us a video clip. So if we could pause that slideshow and play Nora's video. She just delightfully shared her heart with us there. So here we go.
Hey Crossroads, this is Nora, in case you didn't know. I wish I could be out there with you guys, but I am actually out in Bozeman doing my college orientation. If I had to pick one thing that I'll remember about this trip, it has to be the relationships that I was able to build out in West Virginia. This was the first year that I was really able to interact one-on-one with community members and other churches. My first mission trip I don't remember a lot of, and my second one was during COVID, so we really only were in our own church groups. But this was the first year that I actually got to be in a church with a lot of people from the cities, and it was really great to just get to learn about them and hang out with them every day. This was also the first year that my group worked one-on-one with a homeowner, so it was really great to meet Zelma, the homeowner we were working with, and just see what all our service meant for her and her family. So yeah, I would say that I will always remember that this was the year I was just able to get out there and hang out with as many people as possible. Again, I really wish I could be here, and I wish I could go on more mission trips with you guys, but I will be there in spirit.
So I really am thankful for Nora's willingness to share that with us. She did a great job there, so thanks to Nora. All right, we're going to go ahead and start passing this mic to you guys a little bit here. A couple of questions. We're going to start with, let's see, where is Grace? I know you're so excited to go first, but here you go. All right. Grace is your first trip here, and then she was going to share a little bit about what she learned from people in the community with us. So
I'm Grace. I'm a freshman this year. Hi. I would say two things that I really learned from community members, just the people we interacted with. I was on the same team as Nora, so I worked with Zelma. And we were at her house the entire week. It was really great. We got to talk with her a lot. We got a lot done. I just really enjoyed that group. But I would say one of the main things I learned from her was optimism. When she was telling us her story, we learned that she kind of had a harder life, I would say. It wasn't as cushy as a lot of people have lives like. She lost a father, 2 brothers, and a son in separate mining accidents, and then had another son who was still working in the mines. And I was just really inspired by how open and just optimistic and joyful she was, because really, those separate events could have put a damper on her life. She could have been just completely closed off and upset, and she could have hated the mines and everything that her town was built on, but she didn't. Instead, she drew joy from the people who were still around her. She was always super excited to share about her grandkids and her family, and she just gave me such a sense of light, that there was still more you can draw from life in Jesus. You don't have to be stuck in darkness. And another thing I felt like I learned from this community was acceptance, Christ-like love and acceptance. There are a lot of different people in this town who are from a lot of different walks of life, and it's super easy. This whole week was about learning not to judge people, because it's super easy to take a look at someone and see what they're wearing or how they talk or how much money they have and just judge them completely, just put a stamp on them and move them down. But I feel like the people in this community didn't do that. They took time to look deeper, look past that, because appearances can be really deceiving. And I felt like this community just showed me that it is so important not to judge people by just how they appear. So I'd say those are the 2 of the main things that I learned from people in this community. It was something that I took away.
thank you so much. Awesome. All right. Same question. What did you learn from people in the community? And Micaiah is going to share with us for that one.
So I'm Micaiah. I'm a freshman. The biggest thing I learned was that you can't just judge them, along with what Grace was saying. You know, they had a lot of struggles, but there's so much love and so much faith that it didn't matter. They all loved each other. That was the biggest thing I took away.
Yeah, it was really powerful to see the people there. The homeowner that I got to work with has been texting me throughout the next couple weeks and keeps asking when we're coming back because we were the hardest working crew, which is, again, representative of these guys. That was very true. I have the awesome opportunity of having Gavin, Tyler, Micah, and Jack. So I had all the upperclassmen guys, and so it was a very hard-working crew, and it was a really great experience. But she has been just delightful and affirming and saying, like, wow, I could see Jesus in you guys, and it was just, I wish everyone could get along with each other as well as you guys did, and it was just really great. So, yeah, this community, though, was very just welcoming, accepting of us and of each other. I felt like it was just very positive on that. Our next one to share will be Aaliyah. You're right behind me. Who or what do you specifically want to pray for after you return home, or what's on your heart here about the trip?
Yeah, so during Devos, we would have our time to sit alone, and I was praying one day for a specific trait that I felt like I was lacking in. And I was saying, Lord, can I have this trait? I feel like I can need this trait. But then I realized that that's not where I should be praying, and so then I prayed, Lord, equip me how you want me to be equipped for today, how you see fit to equip me. And since then, I've tried to remember to use that prayer when I'm preparing for some sort of event or something where I'll need to be equipped. And that's been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, I think that's a big pointer there, too. These mission trips, you think of a mission trip as going out to serve and to share God's love. And when you go out, you find that it's working on you, and God is working on you and your own heart, probably way more than you are having any impact in the space you're in. So I think that is probably a very solid truth for all of us in that. And those quiet times, it's really good. Thanks, Aaliyah. All right, Miss Ellie, you're behind me. I'll step out of the way here. Ellie, would you share about how you feel you're a different person compared to when you signed up for the mission trip?
Yes. So I started going to this youth group in December, I think. And I found out a few months after that there was a mission trip to West Virginia. And I was very much at first, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That sounds really hard and really scary. And I was like, no. And somehow they convinced me to go. And from the mission trip, I've learned a lot on how to be more confident in myself and how to I've been a lot less anxious because I'm a type of person who really likes routine. And being pushed out of that, I learned is really good for me. And so in these past few weeks, I've figured out ways to push out of my routine and to find things that, how to serve Jesus and how to find ways in my community to push out of that. So yeah.
Awesome. There was one more note I have your name by that was just a really cool thing. There was another leader from one of the other churches who was a little bit older, and we were a little bit like, is she going to connect the same with these students as some of these other ones do, And turns out God works through everyone, no matter what age you are. Thank goodness, right? But Ellie had a little interaction with Martha, and just going to ask a quick blurb here about what has stuck with you since you've been back.
So I really love piano, and it's just one of the things that I love doing and I find a lot of happiness in. And before the trip, I was very hard on myself of oh, this one doesn't sound that good. I keep messing up and stuff. And I was able to play piano for the kids club, for the nursing home, for a church service. And Martha played guitar with me. And once I commented that this was oh, this doesn't sound that good. And she told me that that God doesn't really care, and that as long as I'm doing it to praise Jesus, that no matter what we sound like, he just loves the praise and not the musicality of it all.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Just some of us, that get in the trenches and work right in the middle of all these kids, and then others of you who have the opportunity to maybe just speak an encouraging word over them, those little things stick with you. It's been 2 weeks, and she still remembers that time with Martha, who just made a passing comment. I'm sure she doesn't remember making that, but it sticks with you. So remember that as you have the opportunity to encourage these young people. They do take that to heart. So my next one here, Tyler. I'm I'm going to hand you a microphone. Okay. I really love Tyler. Okay. Tyler, how did it go with your group, and what did you most appreciate about your time with your group?
We were just so hardworking, and whenever people were told to do something, and automatically went and did it. No complaining, no nothing. We got stuff done pretty fast. Kept getting project after project, and didn't complain or anything. Just kept moving forward as much as we can. The guy that was helping, the homeowner's son, Randall, he was really helpful and just always had an upbeat attitude, and I just loved it so much. Everyone was feeding off it, and it was great.
Yeah, something that YouthWorks, and especially our particular crew leader for our work projects this year, he really embraced this, but the idea is relationships. And so they send you out to these work sites and emphasize, remember, if the job doesn't get done, the group next week will finish it. If you have an opportunity to connect and build relationship with this homeowner, do it. Stop, talk, sit on the porch, go inside, anything you need to do. And I felt like both homes, or all three homes that we were at, those homeowners really, really welcomed us into their homes. I mean, Sarah was coming out with bags of candy and, all the things, welcoming us into their homes. And like I said, following up with us. And Randall was like showing us pictures on his phone of snakes he'd caught and telling all kinds of stories. And he was hilarious. And the first couple days, we couldn't figure out who he reminded us of. And then one day he goes, well, shoot. And he sounded just like Mater on Cars. And so if you can picture that voice, every conversation we had with this man was Mater from Cars. So it was terrific. And it was just delightful to spend time in this community. And I think that same idea is echoed through each person here, that the community was just very welcoming and appreciative and very accepting of us and everything. But they really did. And we had a great work crew. Is that anything else you'd like to share at all? You're good? Okay. Thanks, Tyler. Good job. There were some funny stories that Randall shared, and I was a little uneasy that Tyler would share them with you. We're going to move on. Okay. Our next one is Miss Ruby. Where is Ruby? This is just a quick one, but this was kind of a special one. We were talking around the bonfire and just kind of brainstorming a little bit about some of the impacts that were made on us. And the question we were talking about was learning about ministry and what or who made the biggest impact on you. And so, Ruby, if you would just share your thought on that.
Okay, so I met a girl that's in our group, but she's not here today, named Olivia Trout. And before this mission trip, I didn't even know who she was. And during the week, I got to know her really well. And yeah, it was just special because now we're good friends, so.
Yeah, I think these trips offer a really great time to get to know the others. You're just going into 9th grade, and Olivia's going to be a senior this year. And so it was a cool connection to be able to make someone you see all the time, but you've never really had an opportunity to know. But when you connect on those work sites and work alongside each other, you really get to know each other better. So that was great. I'm actually going to just pass it right to Miss Avery. Okay, Avery, who or what made the biggest impact on you?
So when we were at that church, that service, we got prayed over, and that was very emotional, and I felt God's love just all over, and it was just very special.
Yep, that Wednesday night we went to a very southern preacher, and we weren't super sure what to expect. And he did his little preaching, and he had a very colorful background and came to know Jesus as an adult, and shared very vulnerably, shared his story, and then asked if any students would like him to pray for them. And they initially kind of hesitated, and then one went up, and another went up. And then 3 hours later, pretty much everybody had been prayed for. So it was a very different experience than what we're used to in West Central Minnesota. So Matt is actually going to expound on that experience a little bit.
So, those of us who grew up here in our reserved northern environment aren't really comfortable with what you would say, more charismatic churches of the South experience. And so we go into it with a lot of apprehension. Those of us who are leaders go into that event knowing, what is this going to be? What are our students going to experience? What are they going to pray for these students? And how does that fit with our theology? And that's a real concern, and people who know me, I'm kind of a goofy person, but I'm also a very big skeptic. And I am very careful and analytical about how I look at things. And so I was in that service going, okay, God, either end this right away or be here with us, because I didn't want this. I wanted God to be there, and he showed up in an amazing way. It was that eye-opening experience of knowing that even if you're skeptical, God can come through and he can work in an environment and in something you're totally not comfortable with and totally change your perspective on things. And one of the things I always struggle with is healing, and one of the things we touched on is faith healing in that service and healing different things. And it opened up a great discussion we could have as a group about healing and about how God can heal people, but that doesn't mean he will heal people, and just really to dive into that as a group and discuss that. So just the ability to look at this service and go, okay, it's just a little tiny church with a really small congregation, but the Spirit is working there, and the Spirit is strong, and God's love is strong there, and to just open that up to all of us. So,
Thank you. Okay, so as we've been talking, I told the guys to kind of be thinking here for open mic time. If anything came to your mind or your heart as we were talking here, favorite part of the trip, any surprises, any memorable opportunities to share Jesus, any time that really struck you as, wow, God is here with us. Is there anybody that would like to share? Kate, yeah.
Hi, so one of my favorite opportunities during the missions trip is the prayer night we have on the last day. I always love that so much because you can feel like God's presence there as the lights are down and everybody's so vulnerable and we all pray for each other. And one thing I found so interesting this year is all the growth I could see, and not only the people around me but myself. All of these people I have grown up with, or even the people I've only met recently, I could see how they've grown, and we all seem to be able to find the right words to pray to each other. And last year, that was something I couldn't find. I couldn't figure out how to say the words, but this year, I was able to find prayers that felt right, and I didn't even feel like I had to try too hard to figure out how to pray for them. They just came out, and it's just such a blessing, amazing moment because we're comforting each other, we're vulnerable. It's really cool.
Yes. So that is one thing that if nobody touched on, I was going to bring up at the end, our foot washing experience here, and I'll maybe give anybody else an opportunity to share about that before I come back to that at the end here too. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything anybody else would like to share here? Anything? Any leaders have anything they'd like to add before? Nothing? Okay, I'm going to pass it to Lucinda then. Lucinda was her first trip here. She started working with the senior high youth group last fall, and it feels like she has always been here. So I love that, and she is very much called to youth ministry, and it's a perfect fit. So we were glad to have her join us this year. So I'll let you go ahead and share.
As Christy said, this is my first mission trip, so I wasn't really a big partner in the planning of it because I did not know what I was doing, but it was a good ride to be along for. I really appreciated the devotions that YouthWorks set up for us and that I think the kids were all blessed by too, but like Christy said, the theme was for real, and it just said Jesus' love as an example, how he walked on the earth and how he sacrificed. And so in Romans 12:1, I don't know why.
I wear waterproof mascara too.
Okay, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship, and I watched this play out in these kids as they didn't complain and they were vulnerable and eager to work. They set aside their own comforts and their own fears. There were lots of snakes at our spot, right, Grace? And they just were hard workers, and they sacrificed for each other. I watched that in you in the congregation, in the way you gave financially of your resources and time and prayer for us to go on this trip. And so I was just really blessed by that. And then lastly, The devotional reminded us that when our lives are full of what we want for ourselves, we can become too occupied to care for others. And I watched these leaders just be so thoughtful in the preparation and the planning of this trip, with like gas stops and bathroom stops and those little things that really make the trip so smooth. And it was their way of caring for each other, the food that was thought out and prepared and purchased, and just every moment of downtime, these leaders were thinking of these kids, and I was just really amazed. So thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna thank you for sharing all of that. It was awesome. I have said a million times, but these are the best leaders and team of leaders that you could ever imagine. And when we travel, it's like a family reunion. It feels like we're going on a fun trip together. Even though we're bringing 20 teenagers with us, we all still love it. Like, this is who we are, and we just love it. We have a really great time. Something in the worship this morning, I'm going to try to find it so I say it the right way, but one of the songs, oh, you guys, when it talked about, I had it and then, oh my word. You guys, I can't find it. Here we go. Sorry, that took me a second there to find the right place. The song that we just sang. To wear my sin and bear my shame, the cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah. Praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. And we have the opportunity with these students all the time, but in these spaces where we gather and just do life together for a solid 9 days, to declare that the grave has no claim on them through a really challenging time in life. And it is a huge privilege and blessing to be able to spend those times with these kids, just proclaiming that death has no claim on them and sharing that hope with them. So this is an awesome opportunity with that. I'm going to head back to that foot washing experience real quick, because that is another thing that we love about YouthWorks. They provide time and space the last night of every trip. That Thursday evening, you go to get the gathering, and you listen to some testimonies of people, and then at the end, the staff there washes the feet of each of the leaders and prays for them. We had awesome staff this year. They had, you guys don't even know these parts of it, but when we got there, Connor was the only one, or Kyle, whichever, yeah, Connor was there. And he was the only one that had been there because the past 2 weeks, all of his staff had left because of family emergencies, and he was alone there trying to get everything ready. So the site hadn't been up and running, it hadn't been going. He was just positive and uplifting on everything. He was 19, he was super mature, and he just did it all. And then some staff came in, and they were new together. They didn't know each other, but they just clicked and fit, and we had awesome supportive staff. It was great. We've had some years where the staff is a bonus to the trip, and some years where we kind of have to overlook it a little bit. But this one was fantastic. And I've stayed in touch with them a little bit since too, and it's just been a super great time. So Connor, when he washed my feet and prayed, I had to give him like a giant, I go, I feel like you need a mom hug. Like, you're 19 and you're doing all these things. And he was like, I do need a mom hug. And so just to have that, like, we built relationships with the staff. The other churches were great. We served alongside a church from Ohio that was just 4 hours away. It was their first mission trip. And they brought 18 students with, I believe, or 16 students and 4 leaders, each one of those. They are a very large church with multiple campuses. They brought 16 kids and 4 leaders. The church in St. Paul is a very large church. They brought 16 kids and 4 leaders. And here, with our little church of roughly 250 people, we brought 26. So that's like over 10% of our congregation went on this trip, and I think that is an awesome, awesome thing. So that's very cool, but we connected right alongside them. So this foot washing experience, circle back, is a time where we come together and they wash our feet, and then we have the opportunity as leaders to gather around them and wash their feet and pray for each one of them. If they are not comfortable with that, they can keep their shoes on, and we'll just pray for them and whatever. And Very, very rarely is that not something that by the end of it, everybody has their shoes off. Usually about half of them start off with their shoes on, like, yeah, not so much, not gonna do that. And the space in the room with some music quietly playing in the back and the lights low, and where two or more are gathered, Jesus' Spirit is right there with us. And you would all agree to that, I know, because we've talked about it. That was one of the notes. A couple people left their bonfire notes at my house. We always have a bonfire recap after the trip. And a couple notes were laying around, and it was, God really is with us when we gather. Was one of the things that stood out to me on a note that was left behind. But that time and space to really connect and pray is great. But when you're a leader and you realize, oh, how's everybody else doing? And you look around the room, and these teenagers are gathered in their own small groups around the room, and they are all huddled and praying over each other. And some are laughing, and then they pray, and they're connecting in such a real and personal way, in a very fulfilling, just spiritual growth kind of a way. And it's incredible, the authenticity and the vulnerability that is just for real with all of them that we got to experience with that. The first year, everybody kind of hesitates and thinks, I'm not so sure how I feel, and then it becomes over the years the night that you look forward to, because that is such a rare opportunity in our busy, busy lives to set aside the good things that we're busy with and really focus in on the important things together. So, last call for a mic. Anybody want to share anything? I think we're good. Joey, if you want to come and close us, that would be great. I just want to thank you all one last time. Lucinda mentioned we all would echo your prayers. Absolutely give us strength through these trips, and your support through generous donations and everything else to our mission fund set the pace for us to already register for next year even. And so we are excited to look forward to another trip together. So thank you so much for all of your support.
Let's give praise for what God has done. God, we thank you so much for the work that you do in our lives. We're so thankful that each of these kids, these teens, these adults got to go on this trip, got to grow as they pursue you and seek you and keep their eyes fixed on you, but also got to love their neighbor well. God, we just give you praise for that. We thank you, and we ask that you continue to walk alongside each of them as they learn and grow in their faith to become more like you. God, we praise you and we thank you for the many blessings that we heard of this morning. In your name, amen. Well, as they get seated, I just want to thank each of you, because one of the wonderful things about being the church and getting to gather together is that as we do, we encourage one another, we challenge one another, and we become equipped for whatever it is that God has for us, wherever it is that he sends us out. And in this church, we have many people who care deeply for the lives of the kids in this church, from infant all the way up to the age of these kids, and have helped them to become who they are and equip them to go out and love their neighbor well. And that's why we get to hear these stories. So thank you so much for each of you and the role you have in encouraging and challenging and supporting them. Let's just sing praise to God here as we close our service this morning. Please stand and join us.